Welcome to History with Herodotus, where the past comes alive through the power of storytelling and rigorous historical inquiry. Today, we embark on a fascinating journey through the annals of time, exploring the rich and complex history of Athens, a city that has left an indelible mark on Western civilization. As we delve into the captivating narrative of this ancient metropolis, you will be transported to a world of myth and legend, of philosophical and artistic innovation, and of profound cultural and political transformation. In the distant past, when the misty veil of mythology still shrouded the Greek landscape, the region that would eventually become Athens was inhabited by various tribes and settlements. The earliest whispers of human habitation in Attica, the territory surrounding Athens, date back to the Neolithic period around 7000 BCE. As we wander through the archaeological ruins of this era, we find evidence of primitive farming communities, their lives dictated by the rhythms of nature and the cycles of the seasons. As the centuries unfolded, the population of Attica grew, and with it, the complexity of societal structures. The arrival of the Indo-European tribes around 2000 BCE marked a significant turning point in the region's history. These newcomers brought with them their distinctive language, customs, and traditions, which would eventually coalesce into the Hellenic culture that we recognize today. The mythical figure of Cecrops, the first king of Athens, is said to have ruled during this period, laying the foundations for the city's future prosperity. The Bronze Age, which spanned from approximately 3000 to 1200 BCE, was a time of great upheaval and transformation in the region. The Minoan civilization, centered on the island of Crete, exerted significant influence over the Aegean world, including Attica. The legend of the Minotaur, with its labyrinthine palace and tragic hero, Theseus, has become an integral part of Athenian mythology, symbolizing the eternal struggle between order and chaos. As the Bronze Age drew to a close, Athens entered a period of relative obscurity, often referred to as the Greek Dark Ages. This era, which lasted from around 1200 to 800 BCE, was marked by widespread devastation, migration, and cultural disruption. The once thriving cities of Greece lay in ruins, their populations dwindled and their traditions all but forgotten. And yet, it was during this period of seeming darkness that the seeds of Athens' future greatness were sown. The arrival of the Dorian tribes, around 1000 BCE, brought new blood and new ideas to Attica. These invaders, with their distinctive dialect and customs, would eventually merge with the indigenous population, giving rise to a unique cultural identity that would define the Athenians for centuries to come. The mythical figure of Erichthonius, said to have been born from the earth itself, represents the city's deep connection to its natural surroundings and its determination to thrive in the face of adversity. As we approach the dawn of the Archaic period, around 800 BCE, Athens begins to emerge from the shadows, its people slowly rebuilding and reconstituting their society. The introduction of the alphabet, adapted from the Phoenicians, marked a significant milestone in the city's cultural development, enabling the Athenians to record their history, laws, and literary creations with greater ease and precision. With the rise of the aristocratic families, such as the Eupatridae, Athens entered a period of oligarchic rule, where power was concentrated in the hands of a few wealthy and influential clans. This era, though marked by social and economic inequality, laid the groundwork for the city's future democratic experimentations. The legendary figure of King Theseus, said to have unified the various tribes of Attica under his rule, serves as a powerful symbol of Athenian aspirations towards unity and self-governance. As the aristocratic families continued to wield power in Athens, a sense of discontent began to simmer among the general population. The Eupatridae, with their wealth and influence, dominated the city's politics, leaving little room for social mobility or participation from the lower classes. This tension ultimately gave rise to the figure of Solon, a wise and just statesman who would play a pivotal role in shaping Athens' future. In 594 BCE, Solon was appointed as archon, or chief magistrate, with a mandate to reform the city's laws and institutions. Solon's reforms were nothing short of revolutionary. He introduced the concept of debt cancellation, freeing many Athenians from the burden of oppressive loans. He also reorganized the social structure, dividing the population into 4 classes based on wealth rather than birth. This innovation allowed for greater mobility and representation, as individuals could now rise through the ranks based on their economic contributions. Furthermore, Solon established the Boule, a council of 400 citizens that would advise the archons and provide a check on their power. One of the most significant consequences of Solon's reforms was the emergence of a newfound sense of civic identity among the Athenians. As the city began to take shape as a cohesive unit, its inhabitants started to see themselves as part of a larger community, rather than simply as members of individual families or clans. This shift in perspective is beautifully captured by the ancient Greek concept of eunomia, or good order, which Solon himself described as the foundation upon which a just society is built. As the years passed, Athens continued to evolve and grow. The city's economy flourished, driven by its strategic location and thriving trade networks. The introduction of coinage, which facilitated commerce and standardized exchange, further accelerated this growth. Meanwhile, the Athenians began to develop a rich cultural landscape, with poets like Sappho and Alcaeus contributing to the city's vibrant literary scene. However, this period of relative stability was not without its challenges. In 561 BCE, the tyrant Pisistratus seized power in Athens, marking the beginning of a tumultuous era that would last for over 3 decades. Pisistratus, who had gained popularity through his military campaigns and charismatic leadership, established a dictatorship that would be marked by both brutal suppression and wise governance. He invested heavily in public works, including the construction of temples and infrastructure projects, which helped to further solidify Athens' position as a major city-state. Despite his authoritarian tendencies, Pisistratus also oversaw significant cultural advancements, including the development of the Panathenæa festival, which would become a cornerstone of Athenian civic life. This grand celebration, held in honor of the goddess Athena, featured athletic competitions, musical performances, and poetic recitals, all of which served to foster a sense of communal pride and shared identity. As Pisistratus's rule drew to a close, his sons, Hippias and Hipparchus, succeeded him, but their tenure was marked by increasing brutality and mismanagement. The assassination of Hipparchus in 514 BCE sparked a chain reaction of events that would ultimately lead to the downfall of the Pisistratid regime. In 510 BCE, the Spartan king Cleomenes I intervened on behalf of the Athenian exiles, helping to drive Hippias out of power and paving the way for the establishment of a new democratic government. As the Pisistratid regime crumbled, Athens stood at the threshold of a new era, one that would be marked by unprecedented democratic reforms and cultural achievements. The intervention of Cleomenes IV had paved the way for the return of the Athenian exiles, including the Alcmaeonid family, who would play a crucial role in shaping the city's future. In 508 BCE, Cleisthenes, a member of the Alcmaeonid clan, was instrumental in introducing a radical new system of governance, dividing the population into 10 tribes and establishing the Athenian democracy as we know it today. This seismic shift in Athens' political landscape had far-reaching consequences, enabling the city to flourish as a beacon of freedom and intellectual curiosity. The 5th century BCE saw an explosion of artistic and literary creativity, with iconic figures like Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides dominating the theatrical scene. Meanwhile, philosophers such as Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle would go on to shape Western thought, leaving an indelible mark on the development of philosophy, science, and ethics. As Athens continued to evolve, its legacy as a cultural and intellectual hub only grew stronger. The city's iconic landmarks, including the Parthenon, the Theater of Dionysus, and the Stoa of Attalos, stood as testaments to its enduring spirit of innovation and creativity. As the Greek historian Thucydides would later remark, Athens, though later on she lost the supremacy, still had a name which was the greatest of all, and her power was more than a match for any single state. The history of Athens ultimately concluded with the city's incorporation into the Roman Empire in 1406 BCE, marking the end of its independence. However, its impact on Western civilization would endure, influencing art, literature, philosophy, and politics for centuries to come. Today, Athens is remembered as the cradle of democracy, a city that dared to experiment with radical new forms of governance and creative expression. The legacy of Athens can be seen in the countless cities and institutions that have borrowed from its example, from the United States Congress to the British Parliament. As the Greek statesman Pericles once said, "What you leave behind is not what is engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others." The history of Athens serves as a powerful reminder of the enduring power of human creativity, ingenuity, and civic engagement. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, remember that to understand the present, we must first understand the past.